Hey, this is Chris from Rekkid Talk. So I'm going to do another episode of ranking the albums. So I'm going to approach the studio albums of the band Hüsker Dü. And so I'm going to be counting six full-length albums. So I'm leaving out Metal Circus. I'm leaving out Land Speed Record. Um, and so let's just jump right into it. My number six is going to be the first full length. So this came after Land Speed Record. Everything Falls Apart. As you can see, I actually have the reissue Everything Falls Apart and More, which has some additional tracks of some of their earlier material as well. So it includes some early singles along with this. And basically, I think I'm actually fairly similar with Hüsker Dü and their City Mates, the Replacements, and that the very early hardcore stuff I don't find to be their best. I probably like the first Replacements record more than I like this first Hüsker Dü record. Then my number five, somewhat similar again to the story of the Replacements, is the end of their career. And then for some reason, this is the only Hüsker Dü I have on vinyl. So this is the final Hüsker Dü album before they broke up. This is Warehouse Songs and Stories. I have a Record Store Day version. Actually, it was a Record Store Day leftover at my local. So you do have, we've got some green and some yellow translucent vinyl. There they are. And this is one that just sounded like, I mean, there's some good songs on here. Could You Be the One would be kind of the known one. We were hearing on 120 Minutes. Ice Cold Ice, Standing in the Rain. But they kind of sounded like they were ready to go off and do their separate things. This did not sound like a band that was destined to stay together. So that's my number five. My number four is going to be Flip Ear Wig. And so, I like this one quite a bit more than Warehouse Songs and Stories, but not as much as my top three. My top three are really, I'm not like Dr.Oktöber and that Hüsker Dü isn't my all-time favorite band, but I really like my top three records. But You've Got Makes No Sense at All. And so my number three is going to be, I think, what a lot of people say is their best album. I think a lot of people pick this as their number one. I'm going to pick it as my number three. This is Hüsker Dü's Zen Arcade from 1984. It's the Birds with a Fuzz Box. Fast. So, I mean, you've got, it ends with Reoccurring Dreams, very long song, but lots of short bursts. Something I Learned Today, Never Talking to You Again, Dreams Reoccurring, Indecision Time. So, I mean, this is a classic for a reason. My number two, I don't think a lot of people agree with me on this, especially ranking it ahead of Zen Arcade. I've heard people describe this as neurological nostalgia, when kind of your entry point to a band you like ends up being one of your favorites, even if it's not generally considered to be one of their best. So I'm showing you the cassette version of Hüsker Dü Candy Apple Gray. So this came out in 1986. This is something I remember specifically getting. The family, we took a trip a couple hours to a bigger town where there was actually access to like a real record store as opposed to just buying records at like Kmart. And so I'd read about Hüsker Dü. This was out of my would have been my high school zone of like heavy metal, hard rock, the more commercial stuff. Of course, this was their debut on Warner Brothers, as opposed to stuff on SST Records. So I came back to stuff like Zen Arcade and Flip Your Wig and the earlier material later. But this is the first one I heard right when it came out. I don't want to know if you're lonely. Sorry somehow. Hardly getting over it. Eiffel Tower High. I mean, um, I I I really think this is like one of their best albums. I'm ranking is my number two. I know I'm ranking it higher than most people, but my number one. And I think this is would have been um, the next one I discovered after Candy Apple Gray was New Day Rising. The Girl Who Lives on Heaven Hill, that's my all time favorite Hüsker Dü song. I Apologize, Terms of Psychic Warfare, How to Skin a Cat's very clever. So recorded in '84, released in '85, produced by Hüsker Dü and Spot, so you know it has that SST uh, non-audiophile sound to it. But New Day Rising um, has always been my favorite Hüsker Dü album, and I think will be. So again, a quick recap from 6 to 1. My number 6, Everything Falls Apart from 1983. Number 5, Warehouse Songs and Stories from 1987. So you see, there's not that long of a time span. Uh, Number 4, Flip Your Wig from '85. Number 3, Zen Arcade from '84. Number 2, Candy Apple Gray from '86. And again, my number 1 was New Day Rising from 1985. And maybe I should get this on vinyl so I can have this as a 3 format record.